Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to the Wealth Catchers channel. Hopefully, you guys had a great weekend and hope you guys are enjoying this beautiful Martin Luther King Day. If you got the day off, definitely enjoy it, get some rest. And if you're working, hey, go out there, make the money you need to for yourself, for your family, for these investment accounts. That's what we're here for, right? All right. So, for this video today, we're going to be touching on something that's pretty near and dear to my heart, something I'm pretty much passionate about, and what kind of keeps me motivated and keeps me driving to keep on learning as much as I can, keep on challenging myself and things like that when it comes to investing in the financial markets and stuff like that. So we're gonna be touching on building a custodial account, right? So primarily this is gonna be focusing on my approach to it, how I have went about it in regards to building up my son's portfolio account. So we're gonna touch on things like portfolio structure, strategy, the why, and things of that nature. Okay, so we're gonna dive into it. So, what is a custodial account? So, custodial account, in layman terms, so you don't have to read out the whole definition there, is basically a brokerage account that's created in your child's name, and then you're going to be the custodian or the quote unquote owner of it during that child's early years until they reach adulthood, which is 18 or 21, depending on the state. So, again, you're in control of like the decisions that happen in the account, but your child's the owner of the account. So you have ownership over the decisions that are made, but your child, those assets belong to your child. So there isn't no, I'm gonna sell this and take the money out to go use it for your own personal use. No, it's the child's money. So there's many different ways you could go about it in terms of how you want to invest for your child's future. Obviously, there's things like the 529 plan, which is for educational purposes. You could do a regular savings account that doesn't really get any growth, or you could do custodial Roth IRA, but obviously your child will have to be a W 2 employee. So if you have something like your own business, you could do that as well and hire your child on. If they're a baby, they could probably be like a model for your company or wherever if you're selling diapers or you're selling baby clothes, or they're 8 years old, 10 years old, they could be hired on to shred your paperwork, things like that. So there's different unique ways you can get your child quote unquote on payroll to take advantage of the custodial Roth IRA. But I feel like going this route with the custodial account is the simplest and easiest way to go about it because it's legit providing information. Open up your kid an account and you can start buying stock for your child right then and there, day one, after everything's all set up with your bank accounts and all that stuff. So this is the route I personally went with for my son. And then you'll see here the terms this UTMA and this UGMA. There's not too much difference to it. The UTMA allows you to put real estate and other assets in there, such as like things like art, stuff like that. And then there's the UGMA, which strictly focuses like on stocks. You can't go wrong with either one. But obviously, if you do the UTMA, if you think later on the road, you probably want to buy a triplex, duplex, and probably put it in there for your child to have some type of ownership in real estate. But me personally, I look at if I want in real estate, I could just go buy in the stock market a real estate company or a REIT or an ETF that has exposure to real estate. So obviously, we're going to touch on these things later down the road for portfolio structure, things like that, and how you want to shape and mold your child's portfolio account, right? So the mission of these accounts, right, is for long-term compounding, right? Depending on when you start, obviously that's a big portion of it as well. Child does obviously have to not be under the age of 18. So even if your kid was 17, you wanted to start this, you can. Obviously, the ownership is going to transfer over, but again, it's regarding to your state. So obviously, each state's going to be different. It could be 18 or 21. I just highly advise along the way you try to teach your kid, as we're going to see here, the power of ownership, right? And then also teaching them financial literacy along the way. about what this account's for, how to invest, how to think about investing, how to approach it, and how to view that money. Not to view it as, oh, I get this, I'm gonna go blow it. So my take on it is I'm trying to buy my son optionality, right? So that's what I'm doing. And also the choice of freedom. So when he gets 18, 21 years old, he could have a lump sum of funds at that point in time. He can still let it keep growing. And if he wants to take a portion of that, let's say, go put a down payment on the home, go invest in real estate, start a business, fund his schooling, or go to a trade school, whatever it is, right? It could be a multiple amount of things he could do, but that's the whole point of the account, in my view, for creating it for him, is so he could have options. Not so he's kind of like boxed in, like you have to do this or you won't make it, or you have to do this and you're gonna fail in life. No, he has this money, which is basically gonna be like seed money for him at a young age, at 21 years old. This account could be projected probably to grow to like 70K to 100K if I keep on staying on the path I'm on in terms of contributions, things of that nature, and also growth we've been having over the time. And this still isn't taken into account when he starts working, probably as a teen or a late teen. Me and my wife go back and forth on that when age he could start working. I think he should start working at 15, 16, but we'll see. But yeah, he at some point is going to start working himself too, making his own money, bringing his own funds, which could supercharge the account. And also he'll have his own other accounts working too, his own. Obviously we're going to try to get him somewhere if he is going to start working that has a retirement account or something that he can invest in, things of that nature, some quality benefits. I mean, I've been talking about even when he's a young adult, 21, 22, he starts working once he gets out of college, things like that. So this money right here has almost infinite potential about what he could do with it. And that's the whole point of it. That's the mission behind all this, is to give him options to let the money compound long term over time and things like that. So places you could go and set up this account is something that interests you, obviously. The places are Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Vanguard. Now there's other platforms, other brokerages you can go to open those up. But me personally, these are accounts I have used, brokerages I've used personally, or I have helped assisted a family member or a friend to open up an account with these platforms, right? So Fidelity is my favorite. If I go to Charles Schwab is very good. Vanguard is very good as well. And then what you'll need in terms of opening up this account, you're gonna need your own personal information, obviously, because you're gonna be the custodian of the account, overseeing everything. And then you're gonna need your child's personal information. So that's your date of birth. That's gonna be their social, obviously their name, things of that nature. So now we're gonna dive into the account overview and allocation. So basically, I'm going to be using my son's portfolio as the demonstration and obviously the foundational blueprint here to show you how I'm looking at it, how I view things, stuff like that. Obviously, this isn't financial advice. You go ahead, come up with your own decisions, do your own research, things like that. This is just me showing what I'm doing for my child, and obviously, hopefully, give you some background, some insight, and how to think about it. So again, it's for informational purposes and educational purposes. So snapshot of the account. Obviously, you can see here I went with the UTMA account for my child. So my son was born in June of 2022. Around October, we opened up his account. It's like October 23rd. So later in that year, probably like 4 months later, we opened up his UTMA account, his custodial account. Start off with $50, and right now his account's sitting at a little over $7,100. And then over that time, from then to now, in the middle of January 2026, he has gained 125% over that period of time, right? So pretty great growth when you look at that. And if you were to divide that out per year, he's definitely like beating the market by a landslide. And this is his asset allocation. This is somewhat important depending on how you look at things. Me, I'm a big believer investing domestically. So for me, I'm stationed in the US. I live in the US. So big proponent on investing in US companies, things like that. If you do see here, there's some foreign exposure. That's probably because of the ETFs I hold in there. And for the exposure, that's probably in his index fund that he has in there. You have some stuff labeled as other things like that because don't really heavily rely on the brokerages platform to really understand where all the money is in terms of allocation like that. It does a decent job, but again, you should know where your money's at, what it's invested in. Is it a foreign company? Is it domestic? What does it fall under, right? So then we have a portfolio rules here. So I feel like whether it's your own portfolio, but especially when it comes to your child portfolio, you gotta have a set of rules because this is your money's long term too, personally, but this is real long term money. Again, depending on the age your child's starting at. But even with that, like me, for our child, he started at 4 months old. He's currently three and a half. He has 60, 70 years left of the money to keep growing, keep growing. Even if you started quote unquote late in the game, you started your child was 15, 17, they still have a 50, 60 year runway. So this is definitely a long-term view on what you're putting in now for your child 50, 60, 70 years down the road, right? Especially with advancements in technology in healthcare, the lifespans are just going to keep on increasing. It's not going to be the average of a 60 something, 70-year old. It's going to be in the 80s to the 90s, probably even 100. We don't know what the future is going to hold. But definitely, this is the runway that's going to be starting for multiple decades that you're setting up for your child. So we're going to be focusing on obviously long term horizons, quality businesses, right? We're not going to pick some random company that we know nothing about and then just wing it. Quality companies. And we're going to try to avoid emotional decisions at all times and at all costs. Markets down 5%, 3%. You know, how we have the Trump tariffs that went off. Oh, we have war over here, this and that. We're not going to let the headlines shake us out of position and make a drastic decision that's going to affect our child's future. We're not going to do that. Try to avoid that. Don't make any emotional decisions based on what you see. So again, the whole thing is going to be how you set up the account from the get go, and then reinforcing the account with your conviction, with your knowledge. Don't go in here shooting off the hip, willy nilly, buying this, buying that because you heard of this, taking unnecessary risk, trying to trade options in your chart. No, we're not doing any of those things. We're going to build a strong foundation and let the money work for itself. Because I look at it as my child a couple months back, he was down like $1,000 in a week. And he still woke up every day, had his breakfast, went around, played, had fun, and did everything. And I'm just like, that's an amazing thing to be right there. Like he's down that much. And then a couple months later, it's all back and then some. And then too, on top of that, me being the custodian, I'm not gonna go in there and like I'm gonna sell this off, sell that off. No. I have high conviction behind these names, behind these companies I've invested in for him. I'm going to either put more money in if I have the funds at the time, or I'm just going to let the market does what it does. It's going to go down, up, and then over time it keeps going higher than it was before. So you have to put yourself in that position and also follow those hard rules. And then portfolio structure. So believe you need some foundational assets that's going to drive long-term growth. Again, quality businesses, businesses that can endure cycles. So that could be stuff like recession. That could be things like cyclical events, all those type of situations. But you want your company to still, the companies you invest in, the investments you choose to endure those type of things, because something's always going to be happening, whether it's domestically on a global scale. You can't predict the future, but you want to be in positions where over time these companies are still going to keep winning out and still keep being around, keep on succeeding and growing. So portfolio structure, right? This is my framework on how I approach these things and how I think about it. So I believe you need your core holdings, right? So you need your strong foundation to be built out. That could be SPY or VOO. So that's your S&P 500. Or you could do something like QQQ, which is your NASDAQ 100, which is all tech based. But that should be like your floor, as in that's your strong holding, should probably make up the most of your account. And then from there, you start divvying up and dividing what you're going to do here and there, right? So we're going to dive deeper into that. So then after that, what I like to do is to go into those holdings. So whether that's the S&P 500 or going to the NASDAQ, I'm going to look for those top companies that's in there. Ideally, the top 1 to 3 companies that's in there. For SPY, VOO, and NASDAQ, they probably all going to be the same, right? It's going to be like obviously your NVIDIA, your Microsoft, your Apple, whoever's running the top at that point in time, especially if they're in the top 10. I like to do top 3, but you can do top 10, but as long as they're at the top of the index, right? Go ahead, choose a couple of those companies. It could be 1, it could be 4, it could be 5. Overall, you obviously going to have to come up with a number of how many positions you want to hold in your child's account. For me, my maximum is going to be 10 positions because I think you do anything more than that, it's going to be hard to keep up with all that information. It is a little easier now. You can use AI and things of that nature, but I'm again going towards and targeting this towards like the everyday person. That's probably not going to be up all night reading charts. They're not going to be reading 10 Qs, 10 Ks, things like that. This is just to build their child's future here. So if I was going to do positions, no max more than 10, because realistically it's going to be hard for you to keep up with everything and all those articles and all the news that's coming out. So foundation, S&P 500 or QQQ, that's the route I took. And then crack open those ETFs or index funds and then go see what's the top holdings in there. Pick and choose those companies that you like. Obviously come with your thesis, why you think those companies are going to be a good foundational piece for you to lay out. And then those are going to be your quote unquote satellite positions, right? So your core is going to be your S&P 500. So think of it as like planet Earth. And then you have your satellite positions, which are going to be these individual companies that's going to be circling your core position, right? Then obviously sector exposure. There's so many things in the market. You can't own every single thing to get the most growth out of that one particular thing, right? Yeah, you could buy VTI or VT, which is being able to own the whole market or own the whole world market. But that's going to give you obviously your fair share of return, but obviously it's not going to give you the type of alpha or outperformance that you probably would be seeking. So once you get your core position is going to give you your market return. Your satellite position is going to help you get more alpha, get more return, because those satellite positions are what's driving the core position. So core is doing good, most likely those are doing better than the core that's pushing returns. And then you have your sector exposure that you could dive into, right? So for me, I love semiconductors. So I do have a position in semiconductors. So here's a list of things how you could look at it. If you're someone that's interested in healthcare, interested in cybersecurity, retail, defense, real estate, industrials, there are ETFs that are for these type of sectors or industries that you can also put money into to get your exposure to those type of companies as well, right? Obviously, you have a strong conviction in them, you believe in them. These could be somehow somewhat involved in the core position, right? But it's not going to be solely focused on that. So you want something that's strictly focused on this part of the market, and I want to expose you to just this and add it to your portfolio. This is the route I'm personally taking. Like I like semiconductors a lot. I think the world needs them. Then the world can't function without them. So you have a position in semiconductors. And then me, I like healthcare, but I'm not gonna get a single position in a healthcare ETF. I'll probably go get a single company inside healthcare that I believe in. But again, this is the train of thought you want to kind of try to follow when you are structuring out the account and the portfolio, things to think about. And this is how my approach is to it. Next, I'm a strong believer, forward thinker in terms of where crypto is going to be at in the future and what it could, excuse me, and what it could hold, right? In terms of what it could become in the future. So, strong believer in what it's going to become. I do think being again a forward thinker, right? Not thinking of how we grew up and what we came up on. Crypto is still relatively new. It's a little over a decade old, but now obviously it's mainstream. Everyone's talking about it. It's only going to gain more popularity. It's only going to become more foundational in the future as time goes on. So obviously trying to build a base in there, build a foundation, have some exposure built out to it, right? So that's Bitcoin. That could be Ethereum. Me, I prefer Bitcoin, but Bitcoin or Ethereum, again, you want to go with the top one or top two. Number one and number two, not no random saying they how I feel about the stock market, saying they how I feel about crypto, not some random coin that no one knows about or you found on Reddit somewhere. Top one or two, who's been dominant for the longest, who's been running the space for the longest. And then for individual companies, you probably need some speculative exposure, right? Something that's like, hey, let's see if this works out, but I'm going to put enough capital in there that it won't hurt me if it doesn't work out, right? So that's why I approach my son's account as well. Here's a shot here. This could be your, shot in the dark or shooting off the hip here, but it's something that's so small that if it doesn't work out, I'm okay if it doesn't work out. And also, too, I can give it enough time to work out because, again, he has multiple decades of runway, right? So things like Uber, things like Reddit, it could be a small cap ETF, right? IWM, or something super, um, I wouldn't say looked down upon, but also it could be something that's super volatile, I should say. Something like biotech, right? Biotech has a lot of things in there, a lot of FDA regulations, a lot of trials and things they have to go through. Stock could be up one day, stock could be down, but you could buy a whole ETF for that and have that exposure. Because obviously there can be some winners in biotech, right? But having exposure to those type of things, and I'll use for example my little brother. He also has a custodial account. His example is Roblox. I feel like it's a very volatile company, but the kids love it. They love playing it. He's someone that plays it. My sister plays it. All these kids these days, they love Roblox, right? His account has a certain amount of money in there. Take a small portion of that. Hey, buy Roblox. All of a sudden, Roblox grew over 100%. That's rapid growth in a short period of time. It was like probably less than 8 months, or more than doubled his investment. So cool. We took more than half of that money out, sold it off. He still has a position in there, but it got trimmed down. And now those proceeds, those profits, went to another higher conviction thing. I think we put the money into, I think it's Meta. But yeah, so take those quote unquote riskier names or the high speculative names. They do become profitable. Take some off. That's the only time I would trim in an account, right? Is something like this. I would probably try to trim and then go back into it into another position to build onto. So we're going to dive into holdings, and then we're also going to dive into how we can fund these accounts, right? Or how can we fund this portfolio account for your child? Excuse me. So this is my son's portfolio account. This is how it's currently structured. So we have FNILX. So this is basically like Fidelity's S&P 500, but the only difference with this is this one has no fees. So it's a zero fee fund. So there's no expense ratio. So I'm not paying any fees to have this. So this is something else to keep in mind when you are getting these ETFs, getting these index funds, and you plan on stacking them and things of that nature. Make sure you know the fees that are attributed to each one, because for one, it could be for every $1,000 you're probably spending $2, right, in fees. You probably like, oh, that's not too bad. But if you have four, five, six of those type of investments, that adds up. You can easily, and that's for every 1,000. You have a 10,000, 15,000, $40,000 account. It's eventually going to add up to anywhere starting from $2 a year, right? And that easily could balloon up to $100, $200 a year in fees that you're paying that you didn't realize because you kept stacking ETFs without knowing the expense ratio. But yeah, so you have FNLX, core position. I'm gonna put a basket I put next to them, right? The basket that they fall into is gonna be next to them, and then the percentages. That makes about 23% of the account. I got FBTC, which is Bitcoin. So I went the route of taking the Bitcoin ETF version versus having like a hot wallet or a cold wallet putting it in storage because I have to come up with seed, like have a seed phrase, keep it hidden, all these type of things. I just feel like for me personally, everyone can have their own thoughts and opinions on it. That's too much, especially for my kid's 3.5 years old. I think that's, and also to try to relay that information as he gets older. It may be more feasible, may be easier. It might change in the future about how we store Bitcoin and store Ethereum and our crypto and all that. It may get way more easier than having seed phrases. But as of right now, I just think it's too much to try to manage and try to, I guess for me, it's a worry about me losing my seed phrase if I get locked out my account, things like that. I just buy the ETF. It's a spot Bitcoin ETF. It tracks Bitcoin's price, and I get the same growth and same exposure without having that risk of losing my seed phrases and my key phrases and things like that. So crypto makes about 14.7% in the account. And I know, oh, that's a lot. That's a big portion of it. The thing is, about this, when this ETF first came out, my cost basis is about $44, but I was really buying it heavily around 33. Cost basis is about $44. That's on average what it cost us to buy it. Right now, that same investment is trading at about 80 something dollars to about 90. It went all the way up, I think, to like 110. So obviously a lot of explosive growth in there. And then I know I talked about trimming earlier, but for this, I'm not going to trim because Bitcoin, I feel like, is just going to keep running. And then instead of trimming it, I'm just going to add more money to the other positions around it and then let that position become smaller just due to the fact of me adding more money to other positions, right? But yeah, Bitcoin's also one of the things I would trim. I would let it keep running, keep doing its thing. When I do add money to the account for him, I'm just going to add it to other positions that are a smaller allocation. Next, we have Microsoft that falls into a satellite position. That's about 14% of the account. Then we have Meta, also a satellite position, about 12% of the account. Then now we're going to dive into the sector play I told you about. So that's SMH. That's the semiconductors, about 11%. Then we're going to touch into Google, another satellite position, 10%. Amazon, another satellite position, 5%. Then we have Eli Lilly, which is another sector play, and that's in the healthcare sector, about 4.5%. And then Uber is our speculative play, 4.2%. So for each of these positions, I have my own thesis about them, my own conviction about why I feel like even 5 years, a decade, 2 decades from now, that they could still be very viable, very reliable in terms of being a great investment, things like that. So you have to do that as well when you are coming up with your own portfolio structure into thinking about why am I investing in these companies? Why am I tying my child's future, financial future of that to these companies, right? Excuse me. So again, with time and with research, when with you doing your own knowledge and things like that, you're going to understand and it's going to be easier to discern what's a good investment, what's a bad investment, right? And then also try to pick companies that have multiple avenues to them. So something like Microsoft, they're an enterprise company in terms of like everywhere you go, Windows 365 or whatever it's called is in these computers. Everyone uses Microsoft. Then on top of that, they have the cloud that they use. Then on top of that, they have AI now that they're part of, right? So all these type of things, their hands are in them. Same thing with Meta, hands are in a lot of things. Same thing with Google. Google has Waymo, a EV car that it has, or autonomous driving car that it has that people know about, but people really don't. They don't. When you think of Google, you don't think about them having that type of car. When you think of Google, you don't think of quantum. They're in quantum as well. And then when you think of Google, you don't think about robotics. They're in that as too. Same with Amazon. Amazon's in robotics, automation. But all you people think about is, oh, I go on Amazon.com and get me whatever I want online. They're a logistics company. They have the cloud working for them. They have AI working. They have their hands in so much. They're tapped into healthcare now because they got the pharmacy play. They tapped into retail. So many avenues that they're into. So look for companies too that have multiple legs to them as well, right? Other ways for them to bring in revenue. Although like you want them to be dominant as possible, which is what led to me being so highly convicted and having so much um, belief in behind these companies right here. So now we go to the contribution strategy, right? So starting off for like some small consistent contributions just to get you in the groove of things, the best way to go about it. Me personally, yeah, I start off with $50 for him, but I'm not gonna say it was small contributions over time. It was like, yeah, I came across some money, put it in there, but I also was strategic in thinking about when's the best time of the year and also the best moments for me to make my contribution. This is not buying stocks. This is making contributions to the account. And then on the next slide, we're going to go dive into the moments that I think could provide a good amount of money to contribute. But along the way, yeah, if you want to make a plan, $20 every check, $50 a month, whatever works for you, right? But again, this is how I approach it. So we're going to dive into that. So, how I do this is with being intentional actions, right? So, being intentional, I'm looking at tax refund, right? Ideally, you get those every year. A lot of people get these tax refunds, and the first thing they think about is, hey, I'm going to go blow the money. I'm going to go spend it on whatever here, go spend the money over there. That's cool. That's you. But if you're being intentional about it, and again, you have a child, you usually get something called a tax credit for your child, right? So again, that's extra money you receive because you have a child. If you didn't have that kid, you would have gotten that money. So I think it's only right that a portion of those funds go back and invest into your child's future. So me and my wife have made an intentional decision. Every time we do taxes and we get our refund, we take our son's portion that belongs to him, take a portion of that, and we invest it for him. And then this is why our account grew from starting $50 to 7,100. Obviously, a lot of growths in there, but again, you saw the numbers. The account's over 125%, so that means it's more than doubled from the time we had it. So we've only invested probably about 3K into it, roughly $3,000 into it, and it grew to 7K. So it's a little about $4,000 worth of growth right there. But again, that's somewhere to be some way somehow to be intentional about it, right? Use that tax credit you get for your child or for your children if you have multiple, and put that into their account, right? Bonuses you may receive from work. If your child is doing something, you pay him or her an allowance. Take a portion of that allowance you're going to pay them. If it's $20 to a week for this and that, take about maybe $5 to put it away from them. And also to teach them, hey, I'll give you your allowance. Do you want to invest any money this week? Let them make that decision. And to show them too what it means buying assets, what it means letting it grow, delayed gratification, things of that. You can use birthdays. Well, my son, he was having his first birthday party. He was turning 1 year old. We had a little gift table, had a QR code printed out that my sister-in-law did. It was I was like super happy that she did. I didn't even think about it, but got the QR. She asked me for the QR code, but I didn't know she was gonna go make little cards for people to scan, which is great. So I gave her the QR code. She went ahead and made little cards and then had them at the gift table, had them at the little tables people are sitting down eating. So while you're sitting down eating, playing the games, having fun conversation, go to the gift table, there's a card there showing you, hey, invest in my son's future, or, contribute to Ty's investment fund. Someone scans it, oh, here's $5, here's $10. I was gonna buy this $30 gift, so I just bought, I don't know, a $15 gift and put $15 into the account. So all that money got transferred to me, and I just go put it into his account. So those are innovative ways and also intentional ways to think about how am I going to get these funds to help fund, because they're going to buy a gift for your kid anyway that your kid's probably not going to use, right? After a year, 2 years, maybe 6 months if you're lucky. So those type of things. And then we have the holidays, right? Christmas time or any gift giving holiday that comes around, you could look at that as opportunity as well to fund your child's account. That's how I look at it too. I look at it as, oh, he wants a helicopter, he wants this and that. I have a budget for him to go buy his Christmas gifts. He thinks Santa bought it, cool, whatever. then I have a portion that's going to go into his account. If I was going to spend $50 on him total, I'm probably going to spend $40 and put $10 into his account. So things like that. Those are different ways to find funding, to find the money to help boost that account, help make sure money keeps coming into that account so you keep compounding and growing. And then now for the buying portion of it. So again, usually Q1, Q2, get that tax refund money, put that money in the account, and then from then on, it's about how you move the money in the account and what you do, right? So for me, I look at quality pullbacks. I like when there's fear in the market. And then obviously the company story is still staying the same. So I like discounts, I like 10% off, 20% off the all-time highs. Me, I'm a little more, I guess, into the weeds about it in terms of looking at different prices too. I like looking at charts, right? So I like looking at the weekly chart, 100, 200, 253-day SMA. Those are entry points I like for stocks, ETFs. But I feel like the tried and true method, the best way to keep it simple, look for discounts. 10% off, 20% off. If you want it to be as easy as possible. Hey, I want to buy this month. Is it 20% off? Is it 10% off? No. What's the next item? Is that 10% off, 20% off? No. Next one. Oh, Meta's 20% off. Let me go buy Meta. Cool. Simple, easy, done. Then you have your sell discipline. So this is the probably the least, or how can I say it? This is the thing you want to probably try to avoid the most, right? Because again, we have a long runway. I could tell you across all the custodial accounts, from my siblings to my son, I think I've only sold twice. And these accounts have been up for years. So my son had a position in Disney because I'm like, oh, he's a kid. The Disney position would be good too. Had a scratch stack. I'm like, no, I want my son to be in the best position possible to grow the most money as possible. And Disney's not going to do that for him. So sold Disney, took those funds, put it into something, a growth compounder. That could be a Microsoft, that could be a Meta, that could be the SMH, that could be the QQQ. Even SPY is better investment than going to Disney at that point in time when I made a decision, right? But that was only, and then also the other time was again my little brother's Roblox position because of um, risk management, right? But outside of that, if you started off correctly in terms of your high conviction, doing your knowledge, having information, the foundation built out, your thesis and your why, the selling portion shouldn't really be a thought in it, right? You're really going to be thinking about selling if you're letting fear come into it, FOMO and all those type of things come into like, oh my gosh, that made the right choice. So having all those questions, maybe you didn't do enough research in the beginning to start everything, right? But this is just to highlight some things, which I feel like is one thing you should follow if it's time to sell is did the story change, right? Did they lose pole position? Are they not the number one or number two in the space anymore? Are they, something like drastic happen? Are they banned from selling to like the US? Something like in those type of things, or like are they an enemy of the administration now, or have they been shut down by regulators? Those type of things in terms of like it has to be so damaging, whereas like it is pointless for you to have it in your portfolio, right? But again, with all these stories, all these things, we see the lawsuits Google has gone through, Meta. We had Mark Zuckerberg a couple years ago. That boy was on Capitol Hill sweating, needing to say sorry and apologize for all these things. And then you thought Meta probably was done. And now look at Meta. So it just goes to show too, even though through the worst of times for a particular company, particular sector, they can still bounce back. It's all about how you have your positions allocated correct, right? So like energy was a terrible investment for a long period of time. It only hurt you if that was your foundational piece. If you had a 5%, 10% allocation to it, yeah, it still hurt you, but you had other things working in your portfolio and you just kept building your base in energy. And then eventually it paid off for you. Same thing with financials, 2008, 2009 crisis. I think Bank of America was like worth $2. Nowadays, I think Bank of America is up at $50 a share. Obviously, that was like the lost decade. You probably wasn't making anything. But if you had as a small position of your portfolio and all you did was allocate some money into it every now and then, but focus on your winners, then eventually that loser became a winner. So it's about having the discipline about when to sell and why are you selling, right? So then portfolio composition decisions. So these are things too, again, when it comes to how I view building out my son's account, how you should view it too, probably when you build on your child's account. Risk tolerance, and that's your risk tolerance because again, your kid's gonna be living a life, running around playing with toys and dolls, playing video games, going to the park with their friends, streaming, twitching, whatever it is, online, playing sports. They're not gonna be worried about how their portfolio performance is doing. So the risk tolerance really falls on your camp, right? Are you okay in the position that you put in? Your child's account drew down 20%. Or are you going to freak out, sell everything, and then, take away years of compounding because you can't control your emotions, right? So build a portfolio that you can manage because, again, you're the one that's managing the account until it's time to pass it off to your child. So, again, build the account that you yourself can manage for your child. Time horizon, the way the account's structured matters too. If it's something that, like for me, I'm going to be gladly and happily pass it off to my son at 21 years old. But I'm moving and structuring it in a way so he could access it and use it how he wants to at 21. Now, if you're someone that's starting at the age of 15, and you know he's gonna get it, your child's gonna get it at 21, you're probably gonna structure it a little differently based on what you want them to do with it. Your option windows probably aren't that big at that 6 year window. Now you have 6 years a window of growing money, whereas me, I have 21 years. At the, basically, when I started when he was an infant, I have 21 years of growth to build out how I want him to use it or how I would advise him to use it. So there are two different things. On one hand, like for me, my child, he has multiple options, or the person who starts at the child's infant has multiple options. You starting your child at 15, 16 years old has smaller list of options. So that could be that went from a long list to a shortened list. That could be, okay, this could probably pay for a year or two of college now. Or hey, maybe this could be their first vehicle. The options change for you. And then also too, let's go ahead and use this portion. Yeah, let's get you a starter vehicle. Then we park the rest and let that grow. So at age 30, you have a better chance of having more options at age 40, whatever the case may be. But obviously, the time horizon you have is going to change depending on when you start for your child. And then obviously the ultimate goal for the portfolio. Me, I have a blanket goal. I want the world to be your oyster type of goal. Obviously, that could probably dial in more as time goes on, where I get to see what my son leans more towards, and my future children, whatever they lean more towards. Maybe it's a skill, maybe it's um, uh, an ability picked up on, something that they fall in love with, sport, whatever it is, and I could gear them towards that, lean them towards that. But as of right now, I don't really know yet, right? I have to let time play itself out. When you're 15 years old, maybe he has a great love for cars, or maybe he has a great love for playing instruments. Then we could start structuring things to kind of lean towards him. Maybe he wants to go to a music or the art school, something like that, right? But as time goes on, you could better fix the goals for the portfolio. But right now, it's a blanket goal. My whole thing is I want him to have options. Obviously, as time goes on, you could make that discernment about what you want the goal to be. And again, shorter horizon, your goal is probably more clear cut. I want him to be able or her to be able to pay for their first year of college. I want him or her to be able to buy a triplex or put money down for a duplex. I want him or her to be able to start a business at the age of 18. Obviously, they're going to be up to you based on where you're at in your scenario. Then, for me personally, this is did a little look into the account while I was building this whole presentation and slideshow up. So, what would I buy right now? if I had to go into the market right now and go make a purchase. And then I feel like this is the way that most people, especially for you guys as viewers who are seeing this or interested in doing this for your child, is a way to approach it, right? And also understanding why you're buying. Each buy, again, shouldn't be off the hip shooting. I'm just going to buy this because I want to buy it. There should be some thought behind it, right? Or some type of methodology behind it. So we have obviously Bitcoin, as we talked about earlier, will be a good investment right now, right? It's over 20% off. But as we have seen, it's my second largest position in his account. And I have more than enough allocated to it already. I'm not going to go dump more money into a position that's already so large when I have all these other positions that can help grow out as well, right? So I have Microsoft. Looks great. It's over 15% off its highs. Meta, over 20% off its highs. And then I have Uber, the speculative position, over 15% off its highs, right? So out of all these, what would I buy? So for me, I've narrowed it down to it's going to be Meta or it's going to be Microsoft. And then ideally, it's probably going to be Meta because of one, I'm following the story, I'm following how the stock went, things like that, how much it really is off its highs, and to see where Microsoft is off its highs. Microsoft doesn't have anything that was negative going against it, things of that nature. It just didn't perform as well. But Meta has more of a negative story around it, which is something that I'm looking forward to invest into because I'm looking at like, okay, it's not loved right now. It's getting beat on right now. Eventually, the people who are beating up on it are going to come back into the fold, right? They're beating on Meta at the moment because he talked about he's going to spend more on CapEx and capital expenditures to build more things out, more money on AI. People don't want to hear that. People want to hear about the returns on AI. So yeah, I'm going to put money in Meta because Meta is not just an AI story. Meta has its hands in other things, as I mentioned before. So those type of how can I say it? Those type of misalignments is what you're looking for, right? Uber, I could have went into that too, but Uber is something I have a small position into. It doesn't really matter to me if I add to it, don't add to it. Uber's gonna be something I have probably $100 laying around in his account. I have nowhere else to put it. I'll just throw it into Uber, right? And then again, that's how I would approach it, right? What's my highest conviction play in here? Why would I go ahead and put that money into it? And then what time you're gonna come up with your own strategy, your own things that choose how you're gonna go put money in. For my cousin, she has her own methodology. First of the month or first trading day of the month, she has a list of her 5 companies. She asks a random number to Google, picking number 1 through 5. It gives her a number. Number 4 is Eli Lilly. She's gonna go buy Eli Lilly with whatever money she has saved up for that month. And then she's done. She goes about her day. For her, she doesn't care if it's up high. She doesn't care if it's down low. She doesn't care about the news around it. Because one, for her personally, she has a lot going on in her life. She doesn't have time to sit down and read chart this and that. She just knows, hey, these are quality companies. I believe in them long term. And then it doesn't really matter the price I'm paying today because I'm not planning on selling for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. That's how she approaches it, right? So again, you're gonna come up with your own methodology, your own way about how you approach these things. And then whatever it is, try your best to stick with it for as long as you can. Don't keep jumping left and right, switching strategies, things of that nature. Pick a strategy, stick with it, and see it through. And again, I'm going to keep on, probably like my fourth, fifth time saying it, but long term focus. You got to be patient during this, you got to be disciplined, and then you have to understand you need compounding to be working for you. You're not going to see it in year 1, year 2. Me, I'm already starting to see it for him 3.5 years later. I'm seeing like, oh man, it's really growing. So I can only imagine at year 10, at year 15. But again, you have to do it long enough to actually start seeing the effects of it. Excuse me, and seeing it actually work out, right? So, and one thing I wanted to bring up as well too, this doesn't just have to pertain to just obviously your child, right? Like I have custodial accounts for my baby brother, my baby sister, things like that. If you, your uncle, your aunt, you don't have kids of your own, and you want to go ahead and I call this a gift. You want to go ahead and extend that gift out to your loved ones, to someone you care about. This is a great way to do it for them. And again, this is definitely the gift that keeps on paying. This is the gift that truly is going to pay dividends in the long run, truly is going to make an impact on that child's life and on that child's future. So again, my baby brother, my baby sister, I got my son, nephew, my cousin. Everyone has brokerage accounts. Everyone has money in their brokerage accounts. Everyone's invested. And it's a great feeling and it's a beautiful thing to see. And then you could be the one to go ahead and start that as well for your loved ones, for your family, for your friends. Just drop the nugget in there. Just go ahead and, hey, did you hear about this? Do you know about this? Hey, let's go ahead and sit down and talk about it. Again, we have all these tools available to us. There's no reason why, hey, yeah, you probably had a tough upbringing. You probably didn't come from a lot of money, this and that, but you could change that for the next generation. You could change that for your child, your nieces, your nephews, your little cousins, whoever it is. You can help them build their foundation and their financial future to be way better than you have seen, right? And it starts just by starting, and also it starts with a small amount. We got that mindset. I need 5,000, I need $1,000 to make a difference. No, again, started with $50, and then I use tax credit each year. Take a portion of that, put it into his account. Same thing, birthdays. You get bonuses from work. Stop wasting the money to go on some random trip that doesn't do anything for you or for your family besides provide you some relief for a week or 2 weeks, when you could provide your child with years of stress-free situations by making that $1,000 investment, that $500, that $20, that $5 a week investment. Go ahead and do that. Because again, when you spend enough time in it and you see the numbers growing, you see that everything growing, and it starts relieving you a bit, taking that stress off of you. Like, I stay on the same path I am right now. I don't have to worry about how he's going to pay for college. I don't have to worry about how he's going to get his first home. I don't have to worry about all those things because I know by the time he's 21, he's going to have X, Y, and Z amount to go ahead and start these type of things. And on top of that, he has his own money that he's going to be having in there and to add on top of it. So it's a win-win. So that's all I have to say about that. Open a custodial account for the kids. So I do appreciate y'all stopping by, spending time here, listening, and getting some knowledge. Hopefully it's something you could take back to talk with your loved ones, your partner, even sit down with yourself. Think about it, right? And obviously do more research on it. Don't just listen to this video, watch this video, and think this has all the answers for you. It doesn't. Right? It's a good foundation to build, a good place to start. But go out there, do more research, buy some books, watch more YouTube videos, read articles. You got to go out there and get the knowledge, right? To go ahead and to grow this into what you want it to become and to get that financial freedom, grow that financial future for your child, right? And your children. So again, the website's down there, thewealthcatchers.com. And I have an article for this that I wrote years ago that goes into extreme detail in terms of how I'm looking at scholarships, how I'm looking at the dollar amount that I'm putting in per month, the goal, right? And then the basically how I'm envisioning my son's future is in that article, right? About what got me started for that, why did I view this, and what my thought process on this whole concept here, right? So I have a whole lengthy article on a website that explains it. I'm gonna have it in the description at the bottom. So website's also there, thewealthcatchers.com. Again, you can email me, thewealthcatcher@yahoo.com. Send any messages you guys send there too. And also in the comment section below, you can leave a comment, any questions you may have. Tell me when you're going to start investing for your child, what's holding you back from doing it, what are your fears, what are your worries, what companies you may be interested in, and anything like that. So again, I do appreciate y'all stopping in and checking out the video. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.